I'm gonna say something off the court. Lemon pepper wings. I can't wait to get them lemon pepper wings.
Effing white girl is what Brittany Grinner, female basketball star who's 6'9", was seen mouthing after she was ejected from the game about Caitlin Clark, who famously her and Angela Reese been beefing. And I don't really care about the WNBA too much, but it's...
People are saying that Brittany Griner said trash and then effing white girl, right? That is what it looks like. Trash, effing white girl. That's what it looked like, right? So that is what Brittany Griner is now facing backlash over.
So Brittany Griner cusses Caitlin Clark, uses profanity, is jealous to play, attacks Caitlin Clark. And let me explain what's happening. You are seeing a lot of very, very racist women, right? These are racist women who were taught that they were God's gift to women's basketball, that they are black, and because of that, they are better than white people at sports. That's the one area that they can succeed over white people in sports.
Kind of a thing on the internet right now because, well, anything racial gets attention, but I was going to do a story about Brittany Griner, and this just brought her back to my attention. And it's not so much just about her, but the celebrity culture. America is weak, but what other country do you know of their celebrities? You don't know who any Russian celebrities are. Probably don't know who any Chinese celebrities are. If you do, you know one. But Brittany Griner, who's a 6'9" woman that doesn't wear a t-shirt or bra in hoops with the flat chest. That's here nor there. She is only free in the United States because she was traded in a prisoner exchange with Russia for Viktor Bout, the Merchant of Death. If you've ever seen that Nicolas Cage movie, Lord of War, that's loosely about Viktor Bout.
Rarely does the U.S. government want anyone more than it wanted this man. His name is Viktor Bout, and he's known as the Merchant of Death. U.S. government officials say Bout became the world's most notorious arms dealer by fueling civil wars around the world. Courted by drug lords and dictators, the U.S. saw him as a threat because of his ability to arm terrorists targeting the United States.
If you don't believe in the law at all, that's fine. But if you think there should be any such thing as the law and anybody, like that there's anyone who should be in prison, it's Viktor Bout. Brittany Griner was on the Olympic basketball team, again, the 6'9" woman, and got caught going into Russia. They were traveling with like a vape cartridge, and they gave her 9 years in prison. Now that's messed up. And Russia, of course, was doing this. They do this to U.S. citizens to have leverage to trade for Russians that they want. And Viktor Bout had been a KGB operative. He was a guy that he was about 20 or 21 when the Soviet Union dissolved. Somehow he got the money together, hundreds of thousands of dollars, to purchase several old military cargo planes, with which he then began using to take goods, food, flowers into mainly Africa, and then it turned into guns. But so anyways, Brittany Griner gets arrested with a vape cartridge. Is given 9 years. She had to do like a year or maybe 10 months. And believe me, all that's bad. But this weakness of America for our celebrities, of course, there was this mass outcry, and they did a 1-for-1 prisoner exchange for Viktor Bout. Viktor Bout was serving 25 years in prison. He was at Marion USP, which is second only to Florence ADX. It's considered extremely dangerous. Viktor Bout, like I was saying, if you haven't seen the Nicolas Cage movie Lord of War.
Viktor Bout, in my eyes, is one of the most dangerous men on the face of the earth.
On the face of the earth.
Without a doubt.
Mike Braun, the former chief of operations for the U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration, told us Bout first exploded on the scene in war-torn West Africa in the late 1980s. elevating bloody conflicts from machetes and single-shot rifles to
AK-47s, not by the thousands, but by the tens of thousands.
So he weaponizes civil war in Africa.
He transformed these young adolescent warriors into insidious, mindless, maniacally driven killing machines that operated with assembly line efficiencies.
So Bulgaria was a country that was part of the Soviet sphere of influence. They had a significant arms manufacturing industry. Viktor Bout primarily would source rocket launchers, AK-47s, hundreds of millions of rounds of ammunition from Bulgaria and bring them into primarily African war zones, the Central African Republic, Angola, and Liberia. If you've ever seen reference to or seen a video about the child soldiers of Africa, well, this is who Viktor Bout was arming at the time he was active. Horrific civil wars are going on in Angola, Liberia, where you literally had, well, in Liberia, you had children, 11, 12 years old, being given, and this sounds like it's made up, it's not though, being given a shot of whiskey with gunpowder and cocaine mixed into it, or amphetamine to get them hyped up, and being toting AKs with bullets, courtesy of Viktor Bout. And Viktor Bout made a lot of money. Now, interestingly, Viktor Bout, where these countries was operating in, well, these are places, not Liberia, doesn't really have much, but Central African Republic, aka Congo, aka Democratic Republic of Congo, and Angola. Tremendous oil and mineral reserves. These are the same places where the Wagner Group, the former, well, I don't know if it's really dissolved, the mercenary unit that Putin uses to do things strategically beneficial for Russia militarily without having the actual Russian military go into other countries, which would be a violation of international law. This is where Bout was operating. So this has been a long-term strategy of Putin's to have individual operators or groups that are ostensibly not connected to the Russian government, but that are out in places where they want to have influence. Africa, Central Africa is about the last large area on Earth where there's still the economic powers, U.S., Russia, China, are vying for control and influence. And there's, especially Congo, has a lot of, and Sierra Leone, a lot of important, like heavy metals that are important for computer parts and cell phones and stuff like that. So in 2008, Viktor Bout was kind of living in semi-retirement in Russia, and the U.S. had leverage over one of his former friends, and they get him lured to Thailand, to discuss specifically selling weapons to FARC, F-A-R-C. FARC was a left-wing Colombian guerrilla group who would fight the Colombian government, which was backed by the U.S. government. And in this conversation it was DEA actually did it, even though it was an arms deal. And in this conversation with what he thought were South American leftist guerrillas, they specifically talked about needing certain types of rocket launchers to shoot down U.S. helicopters. So he was, well, almost entrapped. It's under U.S. law, they don't really, entrapment doesn't really exist anymore. But anyway, so Bout knew he was going to be selling weapons to people that wanted to use them against the United States. And he got 25 years in prison. And he had done about 10 years, and this is who was traded on a one-on-one prisoner swap for Brittany Grinner, whose claim to fame is to be a 6'9" woman playing in the subsidized WNBA, who, along with Angela Reese now, is they're bitter towards Caitlin Clark because she's white, and she's She's the Michael Jordan of the WNBA, I guess. I don't watch the WNBA enough to know. So if you see a little racial hot button trending story about Brittany Griner and Caitlin Clark, well, that's just the tip of the iceberg. The story beneath about her being traded for Viktor Bout, a dangerous person that spread weapons to the child soldiers of West Africa and other places as well. And it definitely was one of Putin's minions. He's now, when he returned to Russia, he got into politics. He's now the governor or something equivalent of some, not province, but some part of Russia. So he entered Russian politics after doing his 10-year stretch in the U.S. And so he's in politics and probably has, secretly $1 billion somewhere. And Brittany Griner, this is Brittany Griner. I never knew of a woman that didn't have to wear a t-shirt even. Is getting into these tacky controversies in basketball. But I think it's all, one of America's big weaknesses is our celebrity culture. Brittany Griner traded for the Lord of War. Truth is stranger than fiction.
I'm going to say something off the court. Lemon pepper wings. I can't wait to get them lemon pepper wings. But on the court, it's just going to be amazing, having